So this is like a continuation from Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, I'll explain as I'm talking. Um, so you're morally depraved, but why are you morally depraved? You're morally depraved, but why are you morally depraved? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, today's Wednesday, right? 7 days. So you sectioned a married man involuntarily to your psych ward, right? You sectioned a married man who has a healthcare proxy we found out he didn't even need per Massachusetts law, and a power of attorney. You sectioned a married man with the power of attorney to your psych ward involuntarily. You're morally depraved, but why are you morally depraved? How many times? This is just for everyone. You have no idea because it's the internet. You haven't called me or spoken to me. So you have no idea anything that I think this person is a psycho. You don't know any of that. Okay. So he clearly is able to know the telephone number and it's in his medical record. I'm thinking it should be in his medical record. He also has a power of attorney, but I don't know the details. And I explained that hospital lied and said they don't do that. They didn't want him to have one, but I'm responsible for him. He can't leave Spalding without me. I have to pay and take care of him at a campground when I have a medical condition myself. And I'm responsible for all that transportation. I'm supposed to do his appointments because you're incompetent and you didn't set up a PT1 correctly. Okay. You lie, say you don't do POAs, then you called on it and you do it, and then you tell him he can rip it up at any time. I'm not even sure that's actually true. I'm not sure that's actually true on a notarized power of attorney for a person with brain injury. I'm not sure that's true. He can just rip it up. Okay. I'd have to look into that more. It's just recent I found out about the lies about why you didn't call me when he was unconscious for 8 days at Mass General. You lied and said he didn't fill out a thing. It's Massachusetts law. I'm the spouse. Then Marie, because his father's dead. It's Massachusetts law. He came in with the wedding ring. How would it not be in that person's medical record by June? He's not married. There's no possible way. He with multiple hospitalizations, it's not per hospital. Everything is a fucking lie. You're criminals, but why are you criminals? The last conversation was I'm going to tell the director I have a healthcare proxy. That person knows that, Brian, psychopath. That person knows that. It's in your medical record. And you're married in the state of Massachusetts. So they already know at that point they're criminals. And because they don't want to face their brain illness, they're going to make up anything, even that they're psychopaths and they're depraved. But why? Why are you psychopaths and depraved and running a psychiatric ward? There comes a time to stop working, and that's why hospitals have to close. Okay. So I might find out from a lawyer that he can't just rip it up because he had a brain injury when he signed the thing at a hospital and it was notarized at the hospital. Who's supposed to get paid on the second? How many times has this person told people he's getting a divorce and he's separated and then he ends up going back with his wife? How many times has he done it? Okay. So I can fathom after talking to the director that they made up. So you're separated. Okay, well, you don't want her as your healthcare proxy because you're separated. And that's why we haven't called her on the third or fourth day. That's why, right? He's involuntarily sectioned to a mental hospital. And you don't call his spouse, his power of attorney, and his healthcare proxy. So what would you have to concoct? He's separated. He's going to get a divorce. So he doesn't want her making those decisions and don't contact her. Why did he call me like 15 times then? Is that why you didn't, you stopped him from calling me? Not you care about my well being. I was enjoying interviewing a psychopath. It's not interesting that at that second there was no more phone calls. I mean, it could be him and it could be the hospital. And I said, "I'm surprised you're allowed to call me." Right? You go, "How are you involuntarily sectioned to a mental hospital and they don't notify me and then you're calling me, but you're separated? You're calling me, 'I love you,' this, that, the other housing that I can get, but you can't get." They have to make up things. Now they're gonna steal him and they're gonna get rid of this wife and he's not supposed to have a power of attorney. But why are you doing it though? Why are you doing that though? Guy doesn't even have millions of dollars. He's on a DTA card. Are you gonna get Social Security? Is he gonna get $900 a month? Are you gonna get governmental funding for keeping him there? Why? I'm confused. You people realize you're gone mentally, then you vacillate into all this criminal activity because you don't want to admit that your brain is gone. Whereas other people admit that and they stop working and they go, "Yeah, I'm like 8 days. We can't find the phone. We didn't know he was married." I mean, seriously, not time to stop working. Then when they made up the healthcare, the wrong phone number, and I yet again flipped out. Hold on, I got. They're never gonna call me, get it? Okay. The people at Mass General, you could tell that they both the nurse and the doctor both had a look of fear on their face. At first, I thought it was because they thought that I was gonna be angry and yell at them or something. It's because they know their brains are gone. And here comes the sane person to explain it to them in the kindest of ways. Sometimes people do investigations, not I have to do it. People that are actually, experts on the law in Massachusetts and stuff? Okay. And they point out how that doesn't make any sense. You have people in administration that don't wanna get sued, right? You have people in administration that don't wanna get sued, you go, "Where's the logic in this, though? Like, what's your we just wanna know, we're administration, they can't not answer their questions. They don't have to be doctors, and most of them you ever watch House? Most of them do were doctors. We're from the, HRS that runs the whole fucking country. You're gonna talk to us or we're closing the doors to your hospital today. Okay, so we just wanna know what you're doing with this patient and what you're planning on doing with him. We were notified that you had this patient at your hospital, and there seems to be some discrepancies with what you've done with him so far. Like, it can't make logical sense that someone's involuntarily sectioned to a hospital on a 3-day hold, okay? And then you don't and the person has, uh, uh, in his medical record that he had brain surgery and has brain injury. Not just he had brain surgery, he had an injury to the brain because of it. So he left that hospital with a power of attorney and was put in a person's care that he took off from. So where are you getting that you wouldn't contact that person? Where are you getting that from? Did he tell you he was separated? I guess this might explain that Tom guy flipping out at Brian because Lord knows what he's told people. Like they could have brought him to a hospital and they might have been saying, "Did you contact his wife so he can be sectioned?" And they may have said he's separated. He told us he's separated from his wife. The cops might have told them that. You wouldn't believe the crap I've heard. Right. In 2023, the cop in Quincy said, "It sounds like he needs to be sectioned and his aunt has to do it." It's any family member, and then there's another thing where other people can do it. I didn't know that until afterwards. And it's probably better that I don't because I'm not supposed to get into confrontations with these people. I just gather information. I let them tell whatever lie they want. And then apparently later on, I explain it online. And then they probably stop working. Right. You go, why did you lie though? Were you aware that you were saying a lie? Okay. That's a bit of a half truth that the aunt, it's any family member. And then someone else told me that, right, if someone's that bad, you can call like the police and go, I think this person might need to. It was bad enough in June, right? Because he was only gone for 2 days. It was bad enough in June. So you had police lying, not notifying me, then lying. And then you have two hospitals doing it after that. Right. Each time it gets worse, by the way. Each time it gets worse because he didn't even have a POA in June. I'm sure. Oh, well, we don't have that. You don't have that? He left a hospital with it. It's not in his medical record that he has a power of attorney. Does that have no meaning? Why would someone set up a power of attorney from Spalding Rehabilitation Center? Why would he call his wife and then have to admit to her that you can have visitors, but he tells her not to visit. Don't visit, it's too far. So that she doesn't section 35 him. That's why. That's why. That makes sense to me. So she doesn't go in there and go, "How do I have him sectioned for 30 days at least or 90 days?" He's on a dual diagnosis for drinking and acting crazy. Yeah, how do I get him section 35? As people run around trying to cover up something I'm not even doing, by the way. Right? Because you go, if this is what you're choosing for yourself, Brian. Yeah, if this is what you're choosing for yourself, I mean, because I already know how it goes, and so does he, because people are mentally ill. I went up to the Quincy court in December, and this is what they said to me. When's the last time you saw them? They literally just say that your marriage has no meaning. I swear to God. You just go, why does anybody get married anymore? Don't marry people that are sick. Just don't do it. Like these people are not doing any laws that they're supposed to follow, and some of it is to protect the person they're married to or protect themselves because they have brain injury, not just they don't believe in marriage. They don't believe in marriage. They don't believe in Massachusetts law. You have to follow Massachusetts law, whether you believe in it or not. just, just like you have to follow Florida alimony laws and parental kidnapping laws, even though you don't believe that that's wrong. Almighty God tells us in the Holy Bible that when you don't follow his law or the laws you're supposed to be living under, that you have profound brain injury, not just you're doing what you want and blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't even have had this. I can only drink maybe like 1 or 2 cups of coffee and then I start getting hot flashes. It's just something about coffee. I had it a couple of years ago, and I guess the way that I wasn't really like this last year at the shelter, I noticed your body. It's probably because I was walking so much. Yeah, it really reduces estrogen, but whatever. I just recently just crazy. So yeah, I definitely would like to take my walk today. It's pretty freaking cold, but you get warm when you're walking. And clearly, I don't have to go stand in a line somewhere, soaking wet with sweat. So, I guess that's it for right now in terms of what I was just talking about. And I wanted to be able to actually talk and not in those 4 minute blocks. It interrupts the flow of what God's telling me to say. Okay. So, just a summary again, new information I just found out that what they did at Mass General was actually criminal and they knew it. Okay. So, hopefully, some of those people stopped working. I mean, you're surgering people's brains and you're like, that's pretty scary if you get brain disease. That's pretty scary if you get brain disease. Pretty scary if people with brain disease have you trapped in a psych ward, even though the dude thinks he's doing all this other stuff. You go, you're trapped in there. That's pretty frightening. So um I think they were probably supposed to call me from the emergency room. I've gone through the whole course. I went to an emergency room for self-harm, and then, usually they lie to you, which I don't agree with, and they put you in the 24-hour hold, and, I've observed people being 72-hour sectioned against their will, and the family members are called before that happens. The family members are called, they come in, they talk to them because they want the family there to keep the person calm when they explain to them that they have to stay there for 3 days, that it's not a choice. I've heard people breaking down because they didn't want that to happen to them and their family members there explaining it to them. So I feel they were probably supposed to call me from the emergency room, the first hospital he was taken to. Then he's told he's going to the psych ward. And so then he goes to the psych ward, and then the psych ward doesn't call me. He eventually calls me from the psych ward multiple times. And then, probably because I point out certain things that seem not thing, all of a sudden, no more calls. That's a lot of covering up of things, and they're not supposed to be, watching me online, but it could be because I said things to Brian, he may have brought it up to them. Okay, so the last thing was he was gonna tell some director that he has a, healthcare proxy. Get it? And then they probably went, if no one talked to him or interviewed him, when would he have an opportunity to tell those people he was separated? You have to, when I'm explaining something, it's to you, please, because God's explaining it to me. You have to stop going all these outside things about Mary and Brian. Okay. You really have to stop doing that because number one, how would any of those medical personnel know anything about that when they haven't spoken to me or Brian? When you work in the medical field and you work in a psych ward and you start trolling around the internet like that, and then a patient comes in and you start making all these judgments and stuff about them based on not their medical record, not what they're telling you, but the internet, your brain is gone. I'm sure there's got to be something in your laws where they're not supposed to be doing that. It's sort of like when they ask you when you're in jury duty, have you ever seen this person before? Did you see anything about this case online or anything? You're not supposed to be doing that. Guaranteed. First of all, again, you have to listen to the words that I'm saying. Okay. When did they diagnose him as a psychopath? And that's why the phone call stopped, and that's why they didn't call me. He doesn't have that in his record. He just spent a month in two hospitals being observed by a psychiatric team, and I asked them. He gave them permission to talk to me, and he was in the room. The psychiatrist never said he's a psychopath. She said to treat it like a drug addict. He's a drug addict. So I know it's not in his record that he's a psychopath. And Man at Health laughed when I said that Brian told me he was diagnosed as a sociopath. She goes, "Where did he get that diagnosis from?" So clearly she's seen it. He doesn't have that in his record. Okay. So you have a person with a brain surgery after being hit in the head with the hammer, okay, and a brain injury with an underlying mental health condition that seems undefined at this point. I think they're saying depression and maybe ADHD or anxiety, panic attacks. Okay. So that person is sectioned for quote unquote, I would assume he was intoxicated too, quote unquote, acting crazy. So that's a psychiatric hold, and you don't call his spouse and his power of attorney that he took off from. He's so sick, he's involuntarily sectioned, but you don't contact his family. Do you know at that point that I'm homeless? Is that in his medical record that we're both homeless? Okay. So that's part of the brain injury and the moral depravity. Um, I don't care. I'm explaining it to you. That's why I guess you don't get to talk back to me on this thing. Okay. That's brain injury. It doesn't matter that a person's homeless. Homeless doesn't make you a non-person. And you should know by now that it's pretty insane that I'm homeless. I'm homeless because you took my house illegally and refused to give me housing. I'm clearly not a drug addict, okay? You should know my diagnosis because I'm sure you looked in my medical record, okay? Well, I don't know if they'll close that one, but there's probably going to be a lot of shifting of what are they called? Employees, staff? Yes, a lot. So that's pretty bad. Do you know that so far, not one single facility or hospital has called me since I've been with this person? And we've been married since August of 2024. And little did I know from that second, they were each and every one of them was supposed to call me. Each and every one of them was supposed to call me, and I didn't even know that. But I did repeatedly ask Brian, "You were in a hospital? Why didn't they call me?" "Oh, they don't do that unless I tell them to." I'm not sure that's Massachusetts law. Right. Why wouldn't they call and go, "Yeah, do you wanna, you want a Section 35 them or" oh, yeah. Unreal. Because they gotta go to CSS and TSS and a halfway house. It's a whole system that shouldn't make sense to them anymore as the brain gets sicker and sicker, and this goes on longer and longer. You should see how ill it is, that you people were ill from the beginning when you started doing it. I said it can take a lot of brain loss for some of you to understand that you have brain loss. I remember the day Right, I remember the day, in High Park when Barbara Kent couldn't cook 2 eggs without breaking them. She finally admitted that there was something wrong with her brain. So, just even, like, criminal activity, stuff that's amoral and you were never amoral before, um, denying things that you said, saying, "I never said that," just personality changes where all of a sudden you just say something demonic and demented and hurt people, and none of that. None of that, could get her to find she accused Tom Kent of putting something in her drink to make her forget things. So even when she knew she was forgetting things, she made up someone was causing her to forget things. They can try, but I mean, it's been so long now. It's sorta like Gavin Foundation to a point. I would think try to transfer them to another facility and then blame them, or just release him to a shelter or something and then blame them. That's what Gavin did. They just straight out kicked him out when they went, "Blah, blah, 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 our brains are gone." They just like straight out kicked him out. But anyways, I was not allowed. This was the weird thing that happened too when I went into the tank. All of a sudden, this is why I said any druggie could do this. It's shocking. It's probably gotten worse than it was in 2016. A nurse comes into the 24-hour hold. Okay, why am I even in a 24-hour hold at that point? And then she goes, "Oh, there's someone on the phone." And it's fucking Jen. I remember I went, "What the fuck?" Yeah, like I knew that something was wrong at that point. So people were already sick then. People were already sick then. I'm sorry, people were already sick then. Okay, you just go, "You don't know me, but for I just came from Dedham to Norwood Hospital on a self-harm." This happened at Norwood Hospital. I'm in a holding tank for self-harm. You get a phone call from some person in a shelter in Quincy, and you hand me the phone to talk to that person? You were already sick. You were already sick. What that any stranger, you would have handed a phone for them to talk to me at that point. You go, "What the hell?" Spooky. I remember it was spooky. Yep, I remember I was like, um, anyways, yeah. And then, when I went to the psych ward, the phone didn't work. I remember they said there's phones, But every time I tried to call out on the phone, it wouldn't work. It was only until I had signed, like, the thing to leave, and then I was setting up my outpatient care, that the phone would work to make those phone calls. So it was something I commented to him. I go, "I'm surprised they're letting you guys use the phone." Yeah, I don't know. Somebody else might know if they've been on a 72-hour before. Right. Um, yeah, that's probably why they're supposed to monitor the calls. Right? Because you go, they would have called me if this was the case, right? They would have called me back if he said that he was calling me to tell, me to come there because he's on a section and I'm his next of kin and I have his power of attorney. He's calling me telling me not to come there. I don't I mean, if you're believing a patient, there's something wrong with you, right? You're supposed to call me, right? You just go, "Did you call her?" "Yeah, she's not coming." That's why you're supposed to monitor the calls. Okay, we you didn't know that we monitor your phone calls? I was standing right here. You said, "Oh, there's visitors, like, visiting the other patients." Yes, because they were supposed to be calling me to come in there, just like those people as I explained it, okay? "Oh, visitors, I don't expect you to visit. It's too far, and what would we say really anyway?" What would we say really anyway? Are you putting him away for 30 days at least? Maybe 90 days? Right. That's what we would say. That is what we would say. Um, can he nullify a power of attorney? Okay, you don't have your EBT card on you because you handed someone your phone. How did a kid steal your phone? Because legally, that's my money. Yeah, you're not paying anything. You're in a psych ward. Catch my drift? That's what we would say. Okay, yeah, like, at this point, I already did it, but at this point, should I just remove him from my champ? Because I already did it, but at this point, should I just remove this person from my champ? Is that why I'm not getting housing? Okay, just what do I do about this person? Right. Not you make those decisions for me. Nope, because first of all, you have brain injury, so you don't make any decisions for me. I don't see how you can. Right. Just do the same rigmarole with the same person. Because that would have been people I could have discussed Bridgewater State Hospital with too, by the way. That's why I think the whole thing is just these people are brain injured, and I wanna know too, this is why a person signs releases, okay? Ben, did you tell Brian Buchanan about CSS? Did you suggest CSS to him or he's lying? That's for people with substance abuse issues. He already had 5 months sober. In my whatever you wanna call that, care. He already had 5 months sober in my care. Because I'm not a drug addict running a halfway house. I don't run Gavin Foundation. No, I don't run around with tattoos and piercings because 'cause I'm a drug addict and then start screwing patients. I know all about Gavin Foundation. Sickening. So, right, I don't get money from the state of Massachusetts and then let a person use. I just decide I'm not gonna urine test them. I don't do that. I know that's a pretty small amount of money for getting a person like that sober for 5 months. He's never been sober like that in his life. Right, he's never been sober like that in his life, and who knows if you had given me housing. Right. How does a person like that take off from housing without immediately getting picked up by the cops in an ambulance? That's probably what happened at the halfway house, right? Because he took off. He was running around Quincy doing something because he lies. He lies. He is, like, pathological at this point about his lying. Okay. So you're separated from your wife? When did you become legally separated from her? When you took off with your EBT card and went drinking with some gross person from Harvard Square? Right. I think it's better to not say he's a psychopath so that this guy gets his some comeuppance or whatever the fuck you call it. Right. Yeah, like a 90 day. I remember Vaughn from Quincy, and that was after 2023. Oh yeah, you should have saw him last winter. He's like, I am done with Brian. He used to actually like Brian, and that was before we were really going out. And that's sort of when I started getting like hints that he was a drug addict because he wasn't telling me that. Apparently, he was a wicked bad crackhead that was constantly smoking crack and asking people for money. And that the security guard at the Quincy Public Library also used to sort of like him and feel bad for him because of his persona, right? And then by the time last winter, and I'm sure it has something to do with him observing everything that was going on with me and Brian, right? You just go, okay, there's no way that this guy is secretly nice at this point. How many times do you hurt this woman like this? Yeah, just no. Um, And clearly there's a whole bunch of lying going on because he can see him hanging out with other people after I'm gone in 2023 or any other time. Then he's getting a restraining order against me and saying bye bitch at the library in front of the cops and stuff. I think it when you say a person's a psychopath, then how are you going to do the things you're supposed to do? You're better off letting him do his persona like he did on the phone. You're better off doing that. And then the wife can go, how does a person end up at Bridgewater State Hospital for a year? That's a lot of, assault and batteries and spitting in an EMT's face and stuff and not ever really going anywhere but Gavin Foundation or detox. I mean, that's not a mental health issue. Yeah, he said something about dual diagnosis. That's 90 days. That's not a week. Yeah, that's 90 days, which I discussed in 2023 and apparently never happened. Sex crimes, but if you need me to enforce legalities, then it's just like I said. But I guess yes, you can't you be like criminally insane where you um, married me to rape me, but yet you still signed off for me to basically have the authority to put you away. You can rape your own wife. I don't know if he knows that. And then it's the like I said, how can I rape you when we don't have sex? You just proved that you raped me. Finally, I mean, I don't know if your husband still goes, "Oh my god, really? Like, he raped you?" You need to get away from him, okay? You need to get away from him. You just go, "Yeah, he did." "Yep." Okay. Because he knew that I had that much celibacy, okay? And he knew that he couldn't have sex with me without marrying me. He knew that. And just everything, there's a record of him getting picked up right before the wedding, and the judge is like, "Marrying a drug addict, really?" He still doesn't tell me he's a drug addict. He's still telling me he's a drunk. I just wanted my phone back, bitch, and just running all over the place saying he feels like he's gonna punch me in the face and he's gonna section me and all this stuff. He's like, okay, so you go, that's a sane person to you? That's a sane person to you? Yeah. You did it so you could rape me and then purposely deny me any affection at all, and then run around screwing other people and then reporting it to me. I don't consider that to be sane. I really don't. And then I go to court with him as a judge. A case comes up and the guy's on the video from Bridgewater State Hospital. And to me, I'm thinking in my mind, Brian still doesn't get this. I think he does, but he doesn't. Like, I think he does, but then he tells himself he's just being paranoid and that he's been with me long enough that that's not going to happen. Like, that's not actually what's going on. I still think that is what's going on, Brian. I really do. Because I've gone every time I go to court with you, they let it go because you're supposed to be in my care in terms of I was actually preventing him from doing that. You can see that, right? Say that you gave me an apartment, which you refused to do, and Social Security, and we moved to another campground. He can't do any of that stuff to the public. He wasn't even drinking. He wasn't even trying to take off and drink. He wasn't meeting anybody. He wasn't spitting in people's faces. He wasn't pulling out his penis and showing it to people. He wasn't in a public bathroom in a city masturbating. So clearly I was controlling him. Yep, clearly I was doing that. So that part of it is the refusal to give me housing. I'm not grandiose in terms of I could run, um, what do you want to call that? A rooming house or a halfway house. Clearly, I probably could. Okay. But I'm not even getting into that. But I mean, back in the day, obviously, nuns and priests did it. Okay. So anyway, there's no smoking a vape in a sober house. That's part of the problem with the marijuana and stuff. You just go, even the people running the stuff are just morally depraved because of the brain loss. Um, right. Just the dude clearly can't smoke marijuana. He goes into a psychosis because he just keeps smoking it. He doesn't even do that with that CBD stuff. That's why either I was getting him off of that, right? Because he's feels he's not getting high from it, so stops doing it. Right? It's like a compulsion. And one of his quote unquote friends that was talking to me about marijuana use, and my sister was telling me too. Once you get a high, it doesn't matter how you're just wasting marijuana. You don't get any higher. But I think he goes into a psychosis as he's doing it, which is what happened last year when we were here. So, yeah, when you have the opportunity to tell a patient you have a brain injury, so don't use THC because you already know it's been reported to you when he does it in a massive excess and goes into a psychosis like state. Okay, so the person Joe from Brighton, people can do things that it's not illegal, but you know what I mean in terms of why would you ever take a person like that in to your place and drinking with him with the brain injury and the record that he has. You don't know about his record? Maybe ask the judge at Quincy District Court. Just because your cases get dismissed, people, doesn't mean they don't know because I go to court with him and the judge was hesitant again to let him get away with it, but there I am with him. And that's why. That's why I know I think that sometimes Brian thinks it's that. but then he starts getting out there and thinks it's not. Why are you getting picked up every time you take off from it? Why is that happening? You're not actually allowed to just be free like that, Brian. I don't think so anymore. I don't think the cops and the court believe that. I just don't. I really don't think they do. I don't believe that they think that you are going to be just out like that without your caretaker. I just don't think so. Tell yourself whatever you want, I guess, at this point, but that's my observation. Even the cops are saying, all you're going to do is stay with Mary. Eventually, they would have barrel-assed into that Joe guy's apartment. I already explained it. If I tell you things and you refuse to listen, you deserve to lose your housing. The woman lost her house. I explained to you vindictive things that Brian does. Troy lost his housing. He tried to get that John O'Connell guy evicted. He does vindictive things. I know, just I'm sure we all know what this Joe person would actually possibly be like, right? After the crackhead at Porter. Yeah, just you just pick up a strange married man in Harvard Square and you don't take him to a shelter. You don't ask him if he wants to go to the emergency room. Why would he need to even be at your place? Why would he need to be at your place when him and his wife were sleeping outside? Where's his wife at? Oh yeah, just weird stuff. Like, why would like how did this even come about? Like, it's just like Colleen. How did this even come about? Like, as a couple, they're sleeping on the ground in the cold, okay? And then you see a dude walking around without his wife, and now he's at your apartment drinking. That is like seriously gross. I think the planet needs to know who this person is. At what point in time are you too gross to have housing? Why does a person like that have housing and I don't? Yeah. Why do you have housing and I don't? Just live in a shelter. You're going to meet all kinds of dudes that partake in that stuff. If I had a child that was going to Harvard University, I think I would care. Yeah, I think I'd care. Like, I may even get some people to pretend that they're wayward people like Brian and waiting for people like that to pick them up. Brian claims the guy picked him up, right? So you go, where were you? Where were you sitting? Right. Where were you in Harvard Square? Where were you sitting? Okay, Brighton's right next to Harvard, right next to Cambridge. Okay, so this is a person that's preying upon homeless people in Harvard Square. Okay, so they would do it on purpose and then go to the thing and beat the fuck out of the guy, obviously. Yep, it's called rolling a person. And then would he actually call the cops? I doubt it. Right. How are you going to call the cops? What are you going to say? What are you gonna say at that point? That's why they don't report it. It's like the perfect quote unquote crime that you decide in your head if you think that's a crime or not. Yeah, it's a perfect crime. You go, like Judge Judy, if she was still alive, would go, why would you call like say you're a cop, you go, why would you call us? I'm not understanding, like, why are you calling us? You're a maggot. Right. Someone beat you up because you're a maggot. Can we help you with anything else? Yeah, we'll be there in a minute. Right, exactly, just like Marie. Yeah, Brian, we'll be there in a minute. Right. Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, Joe, we'll be there in a minute. No one cares. Yeah. I don't think they usually report it. And you would hope that they learn a lesson after that. You would hope they learn a lesson after that. As opposed to, legal matters and then they get lawyers. And I think they learn a lesson when you just pretend that you're a homeless person. You let this person kidnap you for a couple days, and then three more people show up and beat the fuck out of the person, and they never do it again. So call that ICE or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Good luck explaining that assault and battery. So, yeah, I just remember Judge Judy. She'd be like, Okay, so you're mad that the person didn't pay you for drugs, and you're taking that into my court? What in the world, God? Okay, so yeah, you picked up a person for prostitution in Harvard Square that has a brain injury, is married, and has 5 months sobriety, and was probably, out of it mentally, and took him back to your place for drinks? Okay. Oh, my sister took out flank steak for me. Yeah, I didn't take my walk yesterday because it was, like, awful, just downpouring, and because I had gone a couple days, I guess I'll probably go today, drag myself out there. I felt kinda tired yesterday too, so let's see. Well, we pray to God, and we hope to God that, people are not, um, you know, cruel and sick, right? Just we're having a Christmas party, right? And, yeah, Christmas is coming, and we're having a Christmas party, and, yeah, going on a trip for a month after that. I don't know. And it doesn't matter, but Brian did that to himself. He'd probably rather be in a psych ward because then he control other chicks. There was a woman at Father Bill's place that married one of these people. I think he was actually worse than Brian, I gotta say. All he did was flip out and scream at her in the shelter. It was awful. Awful, awful, awful every single day. And I think he finally got kicked out and he went to some a detox, and he immediately started screwing another person, and she got an annulment. He called her from the place to tell her, and so he was probably, yeah, he was all about just abusing her too, like his mother. But it's good that she knew so she could get the annulment, and she got it in like 2 weeks. He gave up a Section 8, by the way. He could have gone into housing with her. Clearly, the guy's a nut job, and you go, you started screwing someone in a detox or a psych ward, okay, you're really sick. Good luck with making someone jealous over that or impressing your brother. Okay, so this is what just say the scenario if it happens. Okay, so this is what you're saying, Brian. Some people would say it's to further an addiction. Yeah, some people would say that to avoid your mental illness and to further your addiction, for sure. That is true. Okay, so you're trying to say that you threw away Mary, okay? Um, we don't know if that would have been potential housing or Social Security. We don't know that yet. You threw away Mary, okay? Um, and then you're screwing a person you met in a mental hospital. block, block, block. I didn't know before Denise isn't on his Facebook anymore. I didn't know that. He didn't even tell me that. I'm pretty sure his brother has him blocked because he told me he looked for him before. Right? You just go block, block, block. You have to. It doesn't mean that they won't go run to a hospital like they did because they thought he was going to die and the hospital lied. They probably went, "Why did you call his wife?" Yeah. Um, so yeah, it doesn't mean that because that's your genetic family. It's a little bit different. Doesn't mean that, right? You just go. They know they can't have a relationship with them because it just gets worse. It literally just gets worse. Just a downfall like that, an absolute downfall. You just go, these people that it's like Lindsay Lohan. Remember Lindsay? All due respect to her, I'm sure she goes, "Oh yeah." If someone goes into one of those facilities and actually meets a person there, they're wickedly sick. It's worse than meeting one of them outside. Right? It's worse than meeting one of them outside. Like you're wickedly sick if you're doing that. And this place he might like better because they don't separate the males and the females. Where at Gavin they do. And then at Gavin you have to do the persona that you're married because you're calling Mary to bring cigarettes. So you have to do that at Gavin. Right. And then this place you don't have to do that because now you're telling people you're separated after calling her. Love you, blah 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 blah, and just all those mixed messages. And then I ran away from everybody, and then bloop, now you're in a psych ward with people with hypomania, and yeah, just gross. I've been in the psych ward, and I'm sure it's gotten much worse. That might have been the reason that woman from Father Bill's, who I don't particularly care for, but objectively, that situation, you go, she probably knew at that point that that guy was just sick, and she probably felt weird and kind of embarrassed about it. Yeah, you just go, yeah, like I thought it was a good. It's like the opposite of what happened to me with Ryan. I just thought it was a good relationship because it seemed like he was like really, into me sexually. And then I find out he's screwing someone within a week of being in the psych ward, and you go, yeah, that's going to be kind of. That was sort of like what happened with Phil. Yeah, he was gross like that. It was sort of like what happened with him, and you go, oh, I see. He just is sick and does that with everyone. Okay. I'm the opposite of that. I'm like completely not turned on. Never mind too turned on. I gotta actually like a person. I just no, it's not my age. I've always been like that. I just don't all of a sudden go, I think I really need to pop into the public bathroom and watch porn. You clearly weren't horny. That's why you watched porn. That's like a disease. Wouldn't tell me what the porn was even when I asked. If you're in specialized housing, you better be telling the person what porn you were watching. Someone needs to know what the porn was you're watching. Yep, absolutely has to know what the porn is you're watching. Don't stay, first of all, don't stay in a relationship with someone that still watches porn because they're really fucked up. And then if they get caught with something, then they won't tell you. You don't even have a relationship. You don't, the person has just completely blocked you off and they're living in their own head, which is nothing but gross deviance. That's why they won't tell you. That is why they won't tell you. I know I'm on the thing sharing all these MMs and stuff, and my own husband won't tell me what porn he was watching on his phone. Of course, I haven't been with him since then. Why would I want to? I think I did actually think that to him. He started saying weird stuff when we were here. I guess at first it doesn't seem weird if he's sober and like he started seeming a little tiny bit interested in me sexually. And then it, which is concerning to me. Yes, that's concerning to me after 6 weeks in a campground. So here we are in a place with another person, and now you think that you're starting to feel deviant. Deviance. Yep, that is nothing but deviance, and I explained it in the stairwell. He's got something going on, and I'm sure it's from the thing with the female. He There's no intimacy in anything he's doing. It's all deviance, and it clearly involves just either someone's watching you or you're sneaking around. Yeah, like it's gross. That's all like child abuse stuff. Just anyways, he said, "Would it make you feel better if I told you that I was starting to feel like horny again?" At first, you go, "Well, isn't that good because now he's sober?" Why is he only saying that when I'm here with another person? Why is he only saying that now and not 6 weeks at a campground or out in Cambridge or something at the tennis court? He doesn't lean over and go, "Oh, I wish now I had taken advantage of the camping." Like I'm realizing I'm getting like more sober and we're getting closer and just now it sucks. Right? He doesn't say anything like that. He waits till he's here and then I say, and I like that day too, like you just go, it wasn't like when I came here this time and I'm doing my hair and stuff and I go, I look like a goddess and stuff. Like last winter when I was at the shelter and I got my hair done and stuff, and you go, I used to walk out to Quincy in like exercise gear and stuff, and you go, I just don't understand why you would. He goes, well, it doesn't really have anything to do with you. And maybe he didn't mean it like it said. You go, I need to know that you're horny because that will make me feel better, but it doesn't really have anything to do with me. He might have just worded it wrong. Like it's not really about how you look. It's like love. I don't think so, Brian. No. Good persona though. Good persona. The mind is trying to explain to itself why all of a sudden now you're feeling horny because it's exactly what I said. You got something seriously wrong with you sexually and you can't bond or care with anybody. And that's what your thing should be based on. You've been with me for 2.5 years. You should have love feelings, and then as you know, we're thinking about we love each other and we're hugging and kissing and touching here and stuff. Then you should feel horny. Yep. Good luck out there. Anyways, well, she's out doing something, so this has to be plugged in continuously. It's been an hour already. Yeah, she's gonna be coming.